Larry Senn said, culture is not an initiative. Culture is the enabler for all the initiatives. In our IT world, people, even often leaders and organizations talk about a lot about culture. So, what is culture? Hmm. So, is it like fancy office decor, TT tables, bean bags, free food, or fancy or visionary quotes by some leaders pasted on the wall? What is culture? Let's discuss this more in detail. We are bringing a fresh episode of Sharma, agile, enthusiastic, with passion of igniting positive change in both people and organizations. He is an active member and contributor in major agile communities in India. He loves trekking, also like to go outdoor, playing tennis with his friends, doing yoga. He like to keep his body and mind tip top in correct shape and fresh. So guys, let's welcome Vikas.
Thanks, Nagesh. Thanks for
How are
the
you
nice
doing?
introduction. I'm doing fantastic. Thanks. Yourself?
Yeah, all good. So as usual, weekend, spending time with friends. Uh, yeah, I I went for cycling today. So what about you?
Okay, so I went for an Agile event today uh,
Oh,
in one of the community. So we discuss about the customer centricity and all. So yeah, it was a fantastic start of the Saturday, followed up by a fantastic conversation. Hopefully, fantastic. It will be fantastic. Uh, yeah.
great, great. Now, so to our viewers, Vikas and me often communicate. We often meet specifically on weekends, and we do discuss a lot of things on Agile, and we equally contribute to the community. So when we were discussing about all these things and all that, one of the point of discussion was about culture. And see, so when Vikas saw my podcast and he said, Nagesh, I would like to join the podcast and let's have discussion about the culture, because we often go to a lot of organization as a part of community member, and we see all these things what I mentioned, fancy decor and people talking leadership, talking about there are a lot of videos being shared on the internet about culture and all that. We often heard the term that we are family, but are we really family? So yes, let's dive into today's topic. So, Vikas, so let's not waste much time, and directly I'll ask you a first question. Maybe you can keep it short as of now, and then during the course of this discussion you can elaborate in detail. But what is culture according to you?
Okay. So I mean, very tough task you have given, like defining culture in a single sentence. So, I mean, culture has many definitions, Nagesh. So, I'll not go to the geographical and other sociologist definition of culture. I'll stick that to the agile or in the software development world or in organization world. So, culture is just, you can call it as a way of living in a short sentence, like uh, which people follow. It's like some unwritten rules which people follow, they see and they follow, and that's called a culture.
Great. So now, uh, culture being adopted by people in the society, in the community, and there are a lot of if you go to the history, you see the different type of cultures and different level of culture. Now what are the different level of culture, meaning of a culture in different level of the organization, and why it is important?
Uh, so, see, the definition of culture remains same everywhere, be it any level, it remains same. Though the benefit, the relevance, and the importance, it varies from level to level. So, before going to to what culture means in an organization, I would like to share one small, not a story, but some historical example. See, whenever some invader they attack India, so they
Hmm.
do two things: they break our temples and they burn the libraries.
Right.
And the reason was because they want to break the culture, because everything, ways of living, how we used to operate, that used to be captured or documented there. And they burned that so that they want to control over the people. And it was mentioned, if you see in the Lord Macaulay committee, so they said, when you want to control the people, you need to control their mind, and if you want to control them, just change their culture, change their way of living.
Right.
So that's why the culture become very important, and at all the level. So now coming to the organization part. So uh, it starts from the team level. So we have a culture as a team, and then it goes to the organization level, and then if it is a global organization, then it's different region level also. But I'll start with the team level, and why the culture is very important at the team level, because uh, there was a very famous author, you might have heard about, Simon Sinek. So
Simon Sinek.
he mentioned about circle of safety. What is
Right.
that circle of safety? It is that culture only. So when you are in a team and you have that culture circle of safety, okay, and that is again one of the culture for the organization, you'll feel secure. You'll
Right.
see, okay, you'll be willing to take some risk without being, a risk of getting judged. Like nobody will judge you for that if you have failed also. So that is a circle of safety. And when you have that trust and you have that confidence, you'll be more productive, you'll be more open, you'll be more creative also. Because
Right.
when we have the fear of failure, and when we say, okay, if we fail, if we do something, people will start asking questions and all those things. So uh, uh, you'll not be very creative. You'll be very restrictive when you're taking any action.
Right.
So
You will not be sure about your actions.
exactly. And now I'll relate this with to the software world now. We
Hmm.
talk about Agile, we talk about Scrum and all, but we never talk about. We always talk about, okay, do you follow daily Scrum? Yes. Do you have the sprint velocity? Yes. Do you measure burn down? Everything, but they never discuss about Scrum values,
Right.
and that is very important. And when we miss that, adopting those Scrum values, we lost the chance of getting all the benefit from the Agile methodology. So in a way, culture is very important whenever we are doing any I'm specifically giving example of Agile, since we it's a Agile
Agile
world,
forum.
Agile space, Agile forum. So yeah, so then it becomes very important. Now coming to the another level, the organization level, and that is more important, because it's not visible, but the culture should go from the top to the bottom.
Right.
They set the stage, they set the vision, and people follow leader. And as a human being, and you have seen that we don't have many leaders, we have very few leaders, but those leaders, they had a great follower. So by nature, we are in fact, for in the Indian society, we have been told from since we are kid, we have to follow our teachers, we have to follow our parents and all stuff. So we are good followers, so we follow what who is above that. So that's why it
Right.
becomes very important to set the right vision and right culture by the leaders in the organization, and then that will trickle it down to the team level.
Nice. Very nice. So, and then moving on to next question, like, you know, how do you perceive the impact of missing or ineffective culture on teams or on organizations?
It's a huge impact, Nagesh, though it is not visible. And that's why culture, people say, as you, I think, in your introduction, you mentioned about putting a fancy coats, having a TT table, a free lunch, and all. People think this is a culture. Of course,
Right.
that is one of the factor, but it is the most important thing. But since it is not, it don't have a direct relationship with the productivity or the bottom line, which business is interested mostly, the revenue. So that's why it doesn't get required attention. But if you ask me, I mean, if you don't have the right culture in team, you'll have a high turnover rate. Your employees will not be motivated. They'll not be productive. So in a way, it is impacting your bottom line only. And then there is a new buzzword in the town, quiet quitting. You're familiar with that, I think, quiet quitting.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So quitting. People after that say, okay, say, I mean, they'll stop contributing. They'll do whatever is required. so that they can save a job or they can get the salary and all, but they'll not go extra mile, which
Right.
is a loss for an organization.
Right. 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 Well said. Yeah. So again, so writing those quote on the wall, to be honest, until and unless you so uh, until and unless you actually follow that, you know. So uh, one of the quotes and all that. No, I believe leadership. Uh, you need not to what my view. What you need not to write something taken from someone else. You share your own vision. You share your own way of what do you want. How do you want this organization, this team to be have a culture. And you rightly mentioned about the Scrum value, respect, openness,
Exactly.
courage.
Courage. That's the most important. Courage.
Most important part value. I should have courage to ask someone. I should have courage to say no to something which is which is uh, which is not adding any value to my
Exactly.
product, value to my customer, or value to the process, anything.
Yes.
So that is very important, Vikas.
So to create that is a leader responsibility, and also a Scrum Master responsibility. Scrum Master is
Right.
not only to manage the Scrum ceremonies and all. He or she needs to create that culture where team feel have that courage to open, where they can as I said, like, say no, because people, most of them, they and it's a very classic problem. I think most of the people face that. uh, they commit more, deliver less, because of the same
Right.
thing. But if you have that right culture, they'll say at the right, and then it's like win-win for all the people. You get the right expectation from the beginning.
Right. So what should leadership do in this case?
uh, Yeah, that's a very good question, and I'm sure so leaders. See, we are talking that I'm sure the leaders, they are more experienced than us, and they might have thinking about it. But again, eventually it boils down to that bottom line and all. But there are a few things. I was reading one book named Drive by Daniel Esping. It's a very fantastic book. So he mentioned about motivation 3.0, and this is and he talks about three things which actually helps to set the right culture, and it helps your team to keep motivated. Autonomy, mastery, and purpose. So these three things he suggested, the leaders, the organization should focus on, so that the team, they feel motivated, they'll be more productive, and they have that the circle of safety.
Right.
uh, and there is a reason. I mean, initially there is a very famous what is it called, carrot and stick model, a reward
Okay.
and punishment model.
Right. Reward and
uh,
punishment.
and, and it is widely used, widely popular, and it has its own benefit. But it was primarily built for industrial workers, not for the knowledge. We are
Okay.
knowledge workers. IT people, they are knowledge
We are knowledge.
workers. We are knowledge workers. So this reward and stick, uh, it works at some level, but after some time, if you again go to the Maslow hierarchy of need, after some time,
Mm.
you start for looking for the psychological needs, where you see, okay,
Right.
where if you are respected in that environment, maybe there is another organization who might be paying less, but giving an environment where you feel respected, you will go there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. Big yes from my side.
I was expecting that. Yes, I'm not surprised.
Yeah. So now we already mentioned about courage, So if I have a courage, I will be very good at um, decision making if culture supports it. Can you share in your experience any moment where this culture makes an impact on decision making of an person, of a team, which really benefited everyone?
Yeah, I have many. So I'll give you a recent example. I took over one team, and it was a high performing team. But the way they were working, it's like they were too much overloaded, and they were
Okay.
at verge of burnout. That
No.
some of the key members, they're taking all the uh, heavy lifting,
Heavy
and
lifting, yeah.
they were at verge of burnout. And I sensed that when during the conversation. You can sense that, when you have that in mind and when you are empathetic about it. So first thing is you need to be empathetic about your team, your other people with whom you are working, and then
Agree.
you'll sense that. So I sensed that. So I spoke team and I realized like what they were doing is whatever uh, uh, they have been asked to do, they were doing it. They're not saying no.
Oh,
So,
okay.
and the organization, they were, I'll not name the organization, but according to them, they are following Agile. But the ways of working were pure play, the waterfall. But the
Hmm.
top leadership, they are committing the timeline, and then asking team to do that. But yeah, they were using Jira. So for that, they are Agile. So then we had few sessions and just to understand the team, and then kind of some coaching also. It required some coaching also, because as I
True.
mentioned earlier, so by default we have our mind has been conditioned to follow, because if we say no, people might judge us. So one of the team
Right.
members, he told me, he said, because I was not agree to that, but if I say no, they'll think I'm not a performer.
Right.
So then I had some candid conversation with him and I assured them, let's follow, let's commit what is real. And then it's my responsibility to take that message to the leadership, because uh, there should be communication also. We can't just simply go and change the gear and things. It's a process. So again, it didn't happen immediately. It took us almost 2 to 3 months to get to the stage where team was open, and eventually the benefit was not only to the employee, not only to the scrum master, to the organization also, because now they were having a good forecast. The timeline, the commitment were not skipping. Whatever
Hmm.
committed, it was very close. Earlier, it was like they commit for a moon, and at the time of delivery, most of the things were not done. But and that is what should happen, because the people, they are actually on the ground. They know the reality. So you need to give them freedom to take a decision. Of course, you can't, and we need to find a balance. You can't put everything, in their plate to take a decision. Some strategic decision, it still needs to be taken with the leadership. But end-to-end operational decision, we need to, start giving them this that freedom, that space where they
Freedom.
can start taking decision, or at least they are open to hear their input.
Right.
Uh, so that become very important. So basically, it requires, and that's where the Scrum Master, the Agile coach, their roles comes in. They need to have that conversation. They need to find a balance. Coach team also a little bit, because you are changing a behavior, and also you need to be patient with the results. It's a
Right.
transformation, and you cannot just simply say, okay, tomorrow onward we'll start doing that. No, it takes time. We have
No,
to be
it's not
patient.
going to happen. Hmm.
Exactly. So you need to start small, find some evangelists, find some people. Okay, if we focus on them, and then later they can be a kind of evangelist for whatever thing we are doing. So yeah, it's very interesting. After that you feel a sense of accomplishment. Or if
Right.
it's like you see the happy faces.
Agree. Absolutely. Yeah, and again, happy faces, people, trust. Again, one of the
Yeah,
factor
trust.
which is getting increased. I've seen like what you just mentioned. I've seen when people were you know, given that openness, that okay, it's perfectly okay if you fail. If it's perfectly okay if you say no, you know, and you need not to overcome it. And when this confidence being built, and the trust automatically increase. So people start trusting each other. They are they're seeing everybody's work in a differently. What I mean by that is, like, if I see one of my colleague is taking efforts to complete his or her work, I started respecting that. Oh, that this person is taking efforts, so I also need to compensate. I also need to compliment his or her work. So these kind of changes even I have observed. Huh. So great.
I would
And then
like to add one more example, just in addition
Mhm.
to that. It's a long time back. I think 4 5 years back. I was working on a project, and again, so we were doing things like that. team, this is the work, and you commit the timelines. And
Mm.
based on the team discussion, they committed the timeline. And just 2 3 days back, the team mentioned like they might not be able to meet that.
Mm.
So we had a discussion and all, but somehow it was the team was involved from the beginning. So they are
Mm.
also kind of committed to, as you said, the commitment. They also committed to the timeline. So they went extra mile. They stretched their working hours without being asked. Actually, I
Mm.
never asked, but they worked on weekend because they also feel we committed, and this is also our accountability, and they delivered on time. So
Accountability.
yeah, so that comes with, it's a two-way process.
Right, right,
It's a two-way process. So first you need to, but being in a on a level up, so you need to start a first step toward that, and then you'll get reciprocation from the other people. It's a two-way process.
right. So it's a two-way process. Now you mentioned very, very key thing here. Okay. Now, if I'm bringing something, but I don't get response like that, resistance to change or resistance to, adopt something, you know, without even knowing the benefits, or sometimes it may
Hmm.
not give you a benefit, it may harm also. But how do you handle such resistance? If you get such resistance from team or leadership, in a culture thing.
Yeah. So yeah, again, the strategy varies because you sit in a bottom, right?
Mm.
At what? Not bottom, it's a middle. So below there's a team, and top there's a leadership. So you need to find a balance between these two. So I'll start with like what is my approach and what approach I follow when I work with team. So again, the first thing is some coaching, some nudges, some respect, a humble request, with some showing them the benefit also. But
Right.
as you rightly said, the change is very tough. People sometimes they have habit of doing thing in certain way, and mostly 20 30 years they do the same thing, and then the career also 5 6 years, and they were getting some results, so they don't see any point to change their ways of working. So in that time, with some examples, some case studies, also, as I said, we need to find some evangelists. We will find some people who actually believe in you. So start with
Right.
those people, and then use that networking effect to propagate your values. But still, you'll find some people who will still not be kind of on board with those approaches. And if that is creating some trouble, it is if that is impacting your team culture, then I think it's time to take some tough steps.
Tough
But
step.
that is
Yeah.
that's the
Somewhere,
that's the last thing.
last thing. No, no, I agree. To see, somewhere you have to take the tough steps.
Yeah,
Somewhere you cannot let it go. Cannot.
yeah.
So I totally believe in what you said. But now in this journey, um, we tried one-way communication, two-way communication. We used, you know, the evangelist you mentioned as of now. But who are the other partners that you look for when you are trying to change the culture, like maybe a HR, or maybe employee relationship teams and all that? So how do these teams play part in culture?
Uh, they play a very important role in setting up a culture. But HR is mostly, not at the team level. I'll not engage HR at the team level. But yeah, of
Okay.
course, if it is a broader audience, then definitely HR should be involved, and they also play a important part because it is from them where all those organization policy, everything sets in. So we need to involve them, and of course, a nudge from leaderships. And as I said, sometimes people they follow their seniors. So if there is, and I'll tell
Mm.
you an example also. In my team, I was working again. It's a 4 5 years back, and then we just adopted Scrum, and then there was some stories update, the comments and all. So we started with so whenever I start a project, we start with a team charter, kind of
Right.
a ways of working. It's an agreement between Scrum Master, the team members, and the other stakeholders. Like this is how we will operate. So there it was agreed along with the team. Like before a Scrum, they will update their Jira stories.
Agree. Yeah.
But that was not happening, and no one was following that. So initially, I used the daily Scrum call only just to give that message. But Then I realized there are some senior members who were not doing that. So I had a one-on-one conversation with them, and I asked them, "See, you're a senior person, and people follow you. So if you'll start doing that, I think the other team member will also follow that because right now they are following you. They say, "Oh, our senior is not doing, so why we should do it?" And Scrum Master is a servant
Yes.
leader. He has responsibility without any authority, right? So luckily, I mean, those members they supported, and then they started their updating Jira, and then they actually asked their team members also to start doing that, and eventually we reached at that stage where 80-90% time the Jira stories were up to date. So that's where we need to involve the seniors also.
Right.
Also, again, the agile. When we talk agile, we restrict this only to the software development, but when we want to, an organization want to be truly agile, it needs to involve all the departments, be it finance, be it HR, any other department, be it admin. Everyone should be agile and follow, respect those values, and also that I'm going to the organizational agility perspective.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, we should also involve these senior team leaders in this way to change that. So I also encourage team members to be updated on the in terms of your the work that you are working upon. Um, or even about your time management and all that. So I always encourage these team leads or senior team members to be uh, 100% sure about your time management. So if you are 100% sure about your time management, see, somewhere here and there it
Yeah,
always cannot be perfect, but if the time management is good enough, then the juniors or the new team members will learn from it, right? So now let's say, moving on to our next questions. Uh, so there will be, you know, conflicting values, conflicting culture, norms within people, within organization. You know, so how do you navigate these conflicts? How do you handle these kind of conflicts when these occurs?
yeah. Again, that's a classic problem for all the Scrum Master or a manager, I'd say. And it happens, not only uh, between the team members. Sometimes it happens, you took over project for
Hmm.
some PM or some leader left, and you took over that project, and that person has its own ways of working, and you are
Right.
bringing with some other thoughts. So that also you see some pushback. So in that case, the first thing is a dialogue. You need to set a dialogue because dialogue can solve a lot of things, not all the things. You couldn't solve any problem with dialogues, but still, it's a good way to start. And then most of the time I've seen when you dictate solution to other people, they resist that. But when you include them in deciding something or some, setting up some processes and all, uh, you find some support or buy-in for them. Also, never try to change everything at once.
Hmm.
Take a small step. First, make a small change to see what is the lowest hanging fruit, what is the first thing which, even if you make those changes, uh, people will not see some any differences, any major change, and eventually they'll get habitual of doing that. So and this was one of the project I faced that. So I took over from other PM. He left for some better opportunity. So I took over that, and that person has other set of ways of working. And team and they were work. The team is working together with the person, and they had a good uh, kind of tuning, and they're getting results. It's not
Hmm.
like they're not performing. It was a performing team. But then when we see and when I had a discussion with my leadership, like what all changes when you bought me in, so what you want, I mean, you have any? So they said the kind of the work team is doing, it's not a sustainable way, and
Okay.
there are some gaps which they wanted to fix. So I introduced few changes, which I saw some resistance, and that was it was the starting of my career. And as you said, we also learn with the challenges and the problems and some failed experiments also.
Right, right.
So that was a failed experiment. So I said, okay, let's start doing this and all. And I see there is a pushback because most of the people were senior people, members, and all performers.
Hmm.
So then I say, okay, it didn't work. It backfired. Not exactly, but it backfired to some extent. Uh, they considered me as an enemy, somebody who outsider Kevin and Star, why he's changing things and all. So
Alien.
yeah, then I said, okay, let's change the approach. And then, as I said, so the empathy, so that empathy comes from that part. So I just think, okay, let me put myself in their shoes
Hmm.
and see how I will react, and how I would like somebody else to pass instructions to me. And I realized, okay, even I don't like somebody is coming and dictating me, do this and that when I'm not aligned to that. So the
Hmm.
first thing is you need to get aligned with them. For that, you need a dialogue. So we had a discussion and we said, okay, these are the problem statement. How you want to solve that? So it's not this time I'm not dictating them to. I said this is what we want to change, because if we change this, we'll get that benefit. You tell me how we can do that. And then there was a dialogue. There was a discussions coming. There was ideas coming from different directions. Some were very extreme ideas also, but some were little moderate and balanced. And some of the things where we can find a middle ground. And then we started with that, and with few changes like that, team I got the trust from the team. Okay, this guy is for us only. He's not an alien. He's our friend
Hmm.
from some other world maybe, but he's not our enemy. So then it was a kind of a smooth thing for me. But yeah, initially you'll see the resistance, so you need to give them also some time and put yourself in the other person's shoes and see how you would like, if you want to change that, and follow that. Success rate is good if you follow
Yeah.
that approach.
Right. Good, good.
So
See,
empathy is the key.
yeah, yes, yes. So yes, I remember a discussion with one of the yeah, one of my connection. He always used to say that if you want to become a coach, first understand if you are coachable or not.
Yes,
If you are coachable, then you can coach someone, and
exactly.
that's what Vikas did. So he changed his approach, and then he tried to be like them, and then people will slowly will accept it, like he said. Yes. So moving ahead to our last question of the day. There are a lot of people who to be aspire to be Scrum Master, Agile coach, Agile professionals, and all that. You know, so yes, they will read theory, they will go through videos, they will read books, they will attend 2 days certification course, everything they will do. But how can they learn about culture and
Okay. It's a long journey. Culture, you can't learn culture. But so see, two things. When you want to be a Scrum Master and all, first you need to understand why you want to do that. Because most of the time I see the expectation from the Scrum Master and from the organization also is very different, what actually Scrum Master is, and that is why there is a gap. So I mean, my response for that would be, read, interact with people, treat them not as a resource, as a human being, other human being. Also, uh, go to different meetups and all. That also
Hmm,
helped me.
hmm,
When I just started my journey in Agile, but I remember one of the known member in the Agile circle. So I was going on a meetup and we were traveling together. So I was just new to Agile, and say, when we're new to something, we say, oh, everything is bad. This is the only right thing. So I was having that conversation with him. I said, oh, what is bad? It is too. Agile is the future. Agile is and all. He was quietly listening, and then he corrected me. He said, no, nothing is bad. They both are good, but they have their own context. I mean, if you need to see,
context.
right, and that realized me, okay, so and that was a seasoned player, so that is why it become very important to go to those meetups, meet people, meet the senior, meet expert, learn from their experience. You can't, Chanakya said, you can't learn from your own experience. Life is too short, so you need to learn from some other people experience also.
Right.
So yeah, go to meetup, meet people, read some good articles on this. I think it's a journey,
Mm.
because it's a human being. You can't say this is a, a short answer. No,
No.
so you have to change your approach. So I think, yeah, it's a continuous learning, and meet people, learn from them. That's my response is.
Nice, nice. It was a great discussion, Vikas. As I always say on my podcast, this is not the first time that Vikas is here, or not the last time. Vikas will be back again. We'll have further more discussions. If you have any questions for Vikas, do get connected with him on LinkedIn. His LinkedIn URL will be available in the description box. We both in Pune. So if you are in Pune and want to meet Vikas, we often meet on the meetups that he mentioned, and he absolutely right in that what he said. Meetups. What happens in the meetups? You meet a lot of different people. Uh, they came with a different organization. They came from different culture. So what I mean by again culture here is like Vikas came from north part of the India. I came from the Maharashtra state. So that cultural difference is there. Now we already discussed about how we follow our seniors. So we have been taught in the school, we taught at the homes that you should listen to seniors, you listen to elders, you listen to your teacher. That's where when you go to a meetup, we don't want you to listen them. We want you to, you know, understand them. When the people are talking in this meetup, they're explaining their experience, they're sharing their, you know, wisdom. I will again not say knowledge or uh, the wisdom. Understand from where they are coming. In what situations they learn these things. Use it. Use that wisdom to your benefit. Take to your organization, take to your team, take it, and don't again try to change everything in one day. Nothing will change in one day. It's a long journey. Culture is a long, long journey. Again, I'll say thanks, Vikas, for being such a wonderful guest today. And again, wonderful. Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Nagesh. The feeling is mutual.